So today marks the 26th anniversary of the tragic events in Columbine. Not only has this influenced America and many shootings since then, but it has inspired many people around the world. In the last couple months, there's also been some really tragic news. One of the girls who was in Columbine, named Anne Marie Hochhalter, had unfortunately passed away. She had been shot in Columbine and actually was the only person that ended up paralyzed. And she never wanted to be thought of as a victim, but as a survivor. She was a big inspiration for a lot of the other survivors and parents in Columbine, and also a big advocate for people with disabilities and gun control. And if it's not bad enough that she ended up paralyzed as an adult and taken too soon, her mother had actually committed suicide about 6 months after Columbine. So I'll go into that story a little bit in a couple minutes. And so I'm sure most people are familiar with this story, but I'll just give a brief recap before I go into some other things. These two high school buddies who were seniors named Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris were angry at the school because they were picked on and some other reasons. So they decided they wanted to carry out a mass casualty event on April 20th, 1999. And although this event was famous for being one of the first major school shootings in America, it was actually supposed to be a bombing. But the propane tanks they brought inside didn't go off as planned. If they had did that, they could have killed like 200 or 300 students potentially, and it could have been much worse. So the shooting that happened was actually plan B, basically. So they ended up killing 12 students and one teacher, and then they committed suicide. 24 other people were shot and survived, including Anne Marie Hochhalter, who unfortunately just passed away. There were also a few others over the years who have passed away, who were affected by Columbine in different ways, like they were either shot or had witnessed something, or something had happened to their children. Greg Barnes was a student who witnessed the shooting of his teacher, Dave Sanders. He had committed suicide in May of 2000. Austin Eubanks was injured in the shooting and witnessed the death of his best friend. He struggled with opioid addiction stemming from these injuries and trauma, and after years of recovery and advocacy, he unfortunately passed away of an overdose in 2019 at 37 years old. Since 1999, 440 people have been killed and 1,243 injured in shooting events at schools in the U.S., and unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going down. It actually looks like it's been going up in the last few years, except for during COVID. And this shooting has not just inspired dozens of shootings in the U.S., but around the world. And just in the past week, there was a kid who went on a shooting rampage at a school in Dallas, wounding 4 students, but it looks like they will survive, luckily. I'm not sure the motive yet, but I'm sure Columbine, either directly or indirectly, could have some influence. Although Dylan and Eric had intended to do harm to the jocks in school and people who picked on them, they ended up basically taking the lives of people who had nothing to do with that. And Anne Marie Hochhalter was a perfect example of this. She had been running towards the cafeteria doors to escape, and she was shot in the back by Eric Harris. One of the bullets struck her spinal cord, making her paralyzed, and another round actually hit her lung. And so she went to the hospital in critical condition and spent months in recovery and physical rehabilitation and adjusting to life in a wheelchair. But despite her injuries, she later became an advocate for gun safety and disability awareness, and her survival and resilience became one of the most enduring stories from Columbine. But unfortunately, the tragedy for her wasn't over. 6 months after the Columbine shooting, her mother, Carla Hochhalter, who had been battling depression, entered a pawn shop and asked to see a revolver, and then fatally shot herself. So not only did Anne Marie have to deal with her own depression, In dealing with being disabled, she had to deal with the fact that her mother lost her life because of this. But she was very humble and had forgiven everyone for this. She publicly expressed forgiveness towards Eric and Dylan, as well as Dylan's mother, Sue Clayboyd, after she released a memoir. On the 24th anniversary of the Columbine shooting on April 20th, 2023, Hochhalter wrote on Facebook, "My wounds were the worst ones the doctor saw that day, and a few months later, one of them told me that when I get older, I have to prepare for it to catch up with me." Hochhalter was found dead in her home in Westminster, Colorado on February 16th, 2025 at the age of 43. On March 13th, 2025, the Jefferson County Coroner's Office ruled her death a homicide. Hochhalter had died due to sepsis, complicated by the 2 gunshot wounds that she sustained during the Columbine attack. It's no doubt super tragic how much misery has come out of Columbine for these victims and for other people that have been in shootings in America or the world. And unfortunately, I don't see this changing very soon. So anyway, if you appreciate this video in the commentary, like and subscribe if you want to see more. I did a long video on the 25th anniversary of Columbine last year. In that video, I go to some of the crime scene locations and talk about it a little bit more. Like I go to Dylan's home and where they went to the shooting range and the memorial and things like that. I've got some other videos on Colorado true crime like JonBenet Ramsey and others if you want to check that out. And in general, I have a lot of other things on this channel about my travels and experiences around the world. So you can check that out. Take care and be safe out there. I'll leave you now with the memorial of the victims of Columbine.